A
Who's
billionaire's
here?
wife went
I want to
shopping
get some fresh
and
fruits and
saw her husband
vegetables.
standing in another aisle. But when she called his name,
You
the
really look
man
like my
turned
husband and
around and
lost
said,
here.
"I've never
Lost? How
met you."
so?
That moment uncovered a fire, a lost twin, and a truth powerful people kill to hide. This isn't a story about money. It's about blood that refused to disappear. Take a moment to subscribe and like. Stories like this tells a lot about the popular quote, "Blood is thicker than water." The automatic doors of the supermarket slid open with a soft hiss. Sophia Hart stepped inside, pushing a silver shopping cart with one hand while adjusting her sunglasses with the other. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon, the kind of afternoon where the wealthy shopped. Soft music floated through the air. The floors shined like mirrors. The smell of fresh bread drifted from the bakery corner. Sophia wasn't in a hurry. She never was. When your husband was worth over $300 million, time felt slower. Caleb Hart, her husband, a real estate tycoon, self-made, powerful, calm, always dressed sharp, and unmistakable. Or so she thought. Sophia turned down the fruit aisle and froze. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Standing near the apples was Caleb. Same height, same broad shoulders, same sharp jawline, same scar near the eyebrow from a childhood accident. He was even wearing a blue shirt, just like Caleb often did when he dressed casually. For a second, Sophia smiled. "You came without telling me?" she whispered playfully. She pushed the cart forward. "Caleb?" The man didn't turn. She walked closer. "Caleb, you promised you'd be in meetings all day." Still no response. She reached out and gently touched his arm. The man spun around. His eyes widened, not with recognition, but with fear. "Ma'am, please don't touch me." Sophia's smile faded. The voice was different, rougher, lower, and the clothes. Old jeans with torn knees, worn shoes, a faded jacket. This wasn't her husband. Yet, it was her husband. At the same time. "I'm sorry," Sophia stammered. "You just look exactly like someone I know." The man swallowed. "I get that a lot." She studied his face closely. It was like staring at Caleb in a mirror. But life had treated this man harshly. Dark circles under his eyes. Calloused hands. A thin frame. "What's your name?" she asked softly. "Ethan," he replied. "Ethan what?" He hesitated. "Just Ethan?" Sophia felt a strange pull in her chest. "Do you have a brother?" Ethan's expression hardened. "I don't know." Her heart skipped. "You don't know?" "I grew up in an orphanage." Silence filled the aisle. Sophia's thoughts raced. Her husband had once told her he barely remembered his childhood. He'd been adopted, records lost in a fire. He never spoke about it much. She'd always assumed he was an only child. But now, this man looked like his twin. Not similar, identical. "Ethan," she said carefully, "my husband looks exactly like you." He laughed bitterly. "Then your husband must be a ghost too." Sophia frowned. "What do you mean?" "Because every person who looks like me ends up leaving." Something in his voice cracked. "I don't believe in family anymore." Sophia felt tears sting her eyes. She didn't know why, but she knew one thing. This was no coincidence. "Would you sit with me for a moment?" she asked gently. "Just talk." He hesitated, then nodded slowly. They moved to a small cafe inside the store. Sophia bought him coffee and bread. He ate like someone who hadn't had a proper meal in days. "Where do you live?" she asked. "Wherever I can," he said quietly. "Sometimes shelters, sometimes the street." Sophia's chest tightened painfully. And somewhere far across the city, Caleb Hart sat in a glass office building, staring at a photo of his childhood adoption papers. A strange ache pulsed in his chest, for no reason he could explain, or so he thought. Sophia couldn't stop staring at Ethan's face. The more she looked, the more her hands trembled. It wasn't just resemblance. It was identity. The same curve of the nose. The same faint dimple when he tried to smile. Even the same nervous habit of rubbing his thumb against his palm. It felt like looking at Caleb through a different life. "You said you grew up in an orphanage," Sophia said softly. "Do you remember anything before that?" Ethan lowered his eyes to his coffee. For a long time, I told myself I didn't, he murmured. But some memories never leave. They just hide. Sophia leaned closer. What do you remember? He exhaled slowly. Fire. Her breath caught. I remember heat, so hot it burned my skin, he continued. I remember screaming, and a woman crying so loud it felt like the world was breaking. Sophia's fingers tightened around her cup. I remember holding someone's hand. Ethan said, small, warm, shaking. He swallowed. I think it was my brother. Sophia's heart began to pound. Brother? She whispered. Yes. I don't know his name. I don't know his face clearly anymore. But I know there were two of us. Ethan stared at the table as if the past was playing in front of him. We were in a building, maybe an old apartment or shelter. It was night. Smoke was everywhere. He closed his eyes. I remember someone pulling me away. I screamed because my brother was still inside. His voice cracked. I tried to run back, but strong hands held me down. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. I kept shouting for him. Silence stretched. They told me later he didn't make it. Ethan whispered. They said the fire took him. Sophia's heart sank. But deep inside, I never believed it. She shook her head slowly. Caleb never died, she said. Ethan looked up sharply. What? My husband. She breathed. He was adopted as a toddler. All records of his early life were destroyed in a fire. Ethan's face drained to color. You're saying... I think your brother survived, Sophia said. And I think he became my husband. The world seemed to stop. Ethan stood up abruptly, knocking his chair backward. No, he said. That's not possible. Sophia stood too. Ethan, you look exactly like him. Not similar. Identical. He shook his head wildly. You don't understand. I searched for years. Hospitals. Churches. Orphan lists. No one. Sophia stepped closer. Because the fire destroyed the files. Tears shimmered in his eyes. They lied to me, he whispered. They said he died. They probably thought he did, Sophia said gently. Or they never found him again. Ethan's hands trembled. All these years. I slept on streets while my brother lived another life. Sophia reached for his arm. He didn't know either. Ethan pulled away. Then why does he get everything and I get nothing? He burst out. Why did life pick him? Sophia flinched at the pain in his voice. This isn't about money, she said softly. It's about family. He laughed bitterly. Family left me in ashes. Sophia's eyes shone. Let me take you to him. Ethan froze. No. Ethan. No, he snapped. If he's rich and happy, why would he care about a broken man like me? Sophia stepped closer, lowering her voice. Because he's your twin. Silence fell. He doesn't even know you exist, she added. Just like you didn't know he survived. Ethan stared at the floor, torn. What if he doesn't believe me? He whispered. What if he sends me away? Sophia took both his hands firmly. He won't. I promise you. A tear slid down Ethan's cheek. For years I prayed to meet my brother, he said hoarsely. Then I stopped believing. Sophia squeezed his hands. God didn't forget you. The time just wasn't right. Outside, thunder rumbled softly. Rain began tapping the windows. Ethan breathed deeply. When? He asked. Soon, Sophia said. But carefully. Why carefully? Because the truth will change everything. She looked at him with determination. My husband is powerful. The people around him protect him. We need to be sure before we shock his world. Ethan nodded slowly. Okay, he whispered. I'll trust you. Sophia smiled through tears. You won't regret it. But neither of them noticed a man standing near the exit, watching, listening, and quietly dialing his phone. Yes, the stranger whispered. She found him. The rain had turned the city into a blur of silver streaks by the time Sophia drove Ethan across town. Streetlights reflected on the wet roads like broken stars. Neither of them spoke. Ethan stared out the window, his mind racing. Everything he thought he knew about his life had cracked open. A brother alive, a brother rich, a brother living a life he'd never been allowed to dream about. Sophia finally broke the silence. There was an old orphanage called St. Mary's Home, she said. It burned down about 28 years ago. Ethan's breath hitched. That's where I was. Sophia nodded. I want to go there. It doesn't exist anymore, Ethan said quietly. They rebuilt a mall over it. Then we'll search records, Sophia replied. Hospitals, news archives, churches. Ethan looked at her. Why are you doing all this for me? She swallowed. Because family matters. And because I married into a life built on truth, not lies. They pulled into the parking lot of a small public library. Inside, the smell of old books and dust wrapped around them. A middle-aged librarian peered over her glasses. Can I help you? Sophia smiled politely. We're looking for news records from about 30 years ago. A fire at St. Mary's Home. The librarian's expression shifted. That was a terrible night, she said softly. Follow me. They were led to a dusty computer and a shelf of old newspaper reels. Minutes later, Sophia gasped. There, she whispered. A headline glowed faintly on the screen. Tragic fire claims children. 2 toddlers missing. Ethan leaned closer. And missing, he stammered. Not dead. Missing. Sophia scrolled. The article described chaos. Workers injured. Records destroyed. And 2 little boys last seen holding hands. Tears streamed down Ethan's face. That was us, he whispered. Another paragraph caught Sophia's eye. 1 child later found unconscious and adopted through emergency foster care. The second presumed lost in rubble. Sophia's heart pounded. That unconscious child was Caleb. Ethan collapsed into a chair. All this time, they thought I was dead. And you thought he was, Sophia whispered. A cruel misunderstanding shaped 2 lives. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke behind them. You shouldn't dig into old graves. They both spun around. The man from the supermarket stood there. Tall, clean-shaven, eyes sharp and cold. Who are you? Sophia demanded. He smiled thinly. Someone who knows what really happened that night. Ethan stood. You were following us. Yes, the man admitted calmly. Because some stories are meant to stay buried. Sophia stepped forward protectively. Why? Because powerful people made sure that fire cleaned up certain mistakes. Her stomach twisted. What mistakes? The man leaned closer. The orphanage was an accident. Silence crashed between them. Someone set it on fire, he continued. Insurance fraud. Land deals. A lot of money changed hands. Ethan's head spun. So our lives were destroyed for money? Yes, the man said. Sophia clenched her fists. Who did it? The man smirked. You really want to open that door? Tell us, Ethan demanded. The man studied him for a long moment. Your brother's adoptive family was connected. Sophia felt dizzy. That's impossible. Is it? He said softly. The Harts gained property where the orphanage once stood. Her heart sank. That land is now a shopping complex owned by Caleb's company. The truth struck like lightning. You're saying my husband's success was built on tragedy. Partly, the man replied. Ethan's voice shook. Did they know we were there? They knew children were inside, he said. They didn't care. Sophia backed away in horror. That can't be who Caleb is. The man shrugged. Maybe not him, but the people who raised him. Silence stretched thick. What do you want? Sophia finally asked. The man smiled slowly. To make sure the poor twin disappears again. Ethan stiffened. Why? Because if the truth comes out, powerful families fall. Sophia stepped in front of Ethan. You won't touch him. The man chuckled. You think money doesn't erase people? Sophia met his eyes with fire. You picked the wrong woman. The man's smile faded. We'll see. He turned and walked away, leaving fear behind. Ethan whispered, Sophia, what if meeting my brother puts us in danger? She grabbed his hand firmly. Then we'll face it together. Outside, thunder cracked loudly. And far away, Caleb Hart stood on his balcony, gripping his chest as a strange pain washed over him. The past was waking up. Caleb Hart had everything a man could want. A glass mansion overlooking the city skyline. Luxury cars lined like trophies in his garage. Employees who bowed to his words. Yet that night, sleep refused to come. He stood barefoot on the cold marble floor of his balcony, staring at the glowing city below. His chest ached. Not physically. Something deeper. A strange heaviness he couldn't explain. For the third time that week, he dreamed of fire. A burning hallway. Small hands slipping from his grasp. A voice crying his name. A name he couldn't remember. Caleb pressed his palm against his chest. "Why now?" he whispered. Behind him, Sophia's side of the bed was empty. She hadn't come home. He called her phone twice. No answer. Unease crawled through him. Meanwhile, across town, Sophia sat with Ethan in a quiet motel room she had paid for. A warm meal lay untouched on the small table. Neither of them felt hungry. The man at the library wasn't bluffing. Ethan said softly, "I've had people chase me away from places before when I asked about my past." Sophia's jaw tightened. "They were trying to keep you invisible." Ethan nodded. "All my life." Sophia reached for her phone, staring at Caleb's missed calls. "I need to tell him," she whispered. "Tonight?" "Yes." Fear flickered in Ethan's eyes. "What if he doesn't believe you?" "Then I'll show him proof." She pulled out printed copies of the old article, and a photo she'd secretly taken of Ethan beside her, his face a perfect mirror of Caleb's. "Blood doesn't forget," she said firmly. Ethan took a shaky breath. "Will he hate me?" Sophia smiled sadly. "He'll love you." Back at the mansion, Caleb paced. Memories he'd never had before flooded his mind. A woman's voice singing softly. A small blanket. The smell of smoke. His head throbbed. Finally, Sophia's car pulled into the driveway. Relief washed over him, followed by confusion when he saw a man step out of the passenger side. A man who looked exactly like him. Caleb froze. For a moment, he thought he was hallucinating. The man walked slowly beside Sophia. Same stride, same posture, same face. Caleb's heart slammed violently. "Sophia," he breathed. She stopped a few feet away. "Caleb," she said gently. "Meet Ethan." The world tilted. "This isn't funny," Caleb whispered. "I would never joke about this." Ethan swallowed hard. "Brother?" The word echoed like thunder. Caleb staggered back. "No, I'm an only child." Sophia handed him the papers. "Read." His hands shook as he scanned the article. Missing twins. Fire. Adoption. His breath came fast. This can't be real." Ethan stepped forward slowly. "I remember holding your hand," he said softly. "I screamed when they pulled me away." Tears spilled from Caleb's eyes before he could stop them. "I dreamed of you," he whispered. They stared at each other. Two lives split by fate. "You're alive," Caleb choked. Ethan nodded. "I always was." Emotion crashed over Caleb like a wave. Without thinking, he pulled Ethan into a tight embrace. Both men broke down. Years of loss poured out in silent sobs. Sophia wiped tears from her cheeks. "I knew it," she whispered. For a brief moment, the world fell whole. Then headlights flashed at the gate. A black SUV rolled to a stop. Men stepped out. The same stranger from the library stood among them. Caleb stiffened. "Who are they?" Sophia's face went pale. "Danger." The stranger called out calmly. "Mr. Hart, let go of the problem." Caleb stepped forward, anger blazing. "Get off my property." The man smiled. "You've just reunited with a ghost. And ghosts are bad for business." Ethan's hands trembled. "They're here for me." The stranger nodded. "You should have stayed forgotten." Caleb's eyes burned. "He's my brother." "Not officially," the man replied. "And accidents can still happen." Sophia clutched Caleb's arm. "They burned the orphanage," she whispered quickly. "They're the ones who did it." Rage exploded inside Caleb. "You touched children for money?" The stranger's smile vanished. "Careful. You built your empire on that land." Caleb's jaw tightened. "Then I'll burn it down myself, if I must." The men shifted nervously. The stranger stared at him, cold. This isn't over. They climbed back into the SUV and drove away. Silence followed. Ethan exhaled shakily. They won't stop. Caleb wrapped an arm around his brother's shoulders. Let them come. His voice was calm, but deadly. No one takes my family again. Sophia watched the twins standing side by side.
It's okay.
Identical
We're
yet
here.
shaped by different worlds.
Me too.
The past had returned.
Oh, I
And it
lost
wasn't
you.
done with them.
I'm
Watch
here
out
now.
for part 2.